Right. Before I do my last poem, I wanted to do two things. Oh, three things. I wanted to first thank you all for coming. This would not be possible without you, so give yourself a round of applause. I wanted to thank Diana and the whole Spoken Rwanda team because they do amazing. Without them, we wouldn't be doing this. And then I also want to thank my friends who I drag to poetry every last Thursday, and now I'm about to roast all of you, so... I'm joking, I'm actually not going to roast nobody. Yeah, let's get into the poems. I'm going to do a short poem and then one long poem because I've been trying to write a poem for this every month. I also used to write a lot of cheesy love poems, and I haven't written a love poem all year, so I'm like really happy. This poem is about tears. Heal, old boy. You hold back too much pain and regret in your tears. You have sins you have not repented from, sins you have not forgiven yourself for, mistakes you seem to still carry. You look at the present through the lens of the past as if the past can be changed or returned to. You forget the future has so much life to live for. So let these tears run down your face, let them drown your pain, let them wash you new, let them roar, let them baptize you, let them make you become born again. Let them become the river you need to guide you home. You're here now. I wrote that poem because every time I need to cry, I watch The Good Doctor, and then I cry, and then tears happen. It's a good show if you need to cry. Oh, I also tried to memorize this poem, so if this goes badly, I'm also going to need your help, so I'm going to ask for your help. Is that cool? All right, I also haven't finished writing this poem, so we're going to finish writing it together. I'm going to say a phrase, and then you have to repeat that phrase back to me. This poem is titled, You Can Do Hard Things. You can do hard things. So, I say, you can do hard things like fall in love. You can do hard things like? All right, good. That was a good practice run. Let's go. Gotta remember this poem. 1 second, let me cheat. Fall in love, toxic kindness. Leave. I think we can do this. You can do hard things like fall in love. You can do hard things like? Yes, you can do hard things like fall in love, like demand for care, like ask them to not be so loud. Just because you're the firstborn or the lastborn, that is not a curse or a burden you must always carry. You have been too used to carrying your family on your back and through your words and through your acts of service. And so now it's time to let other people service you. You can do hard things like ask for kindness. You can do hard things like? You can tell them to not be so loud, for them to take their time, for them to listen. Just because you're a patient doesn't mean that they should make a hospital out of you. You are not designed to always fix their problems at a whim and at a call whenever they call for you. You can do hard things. You can do hard things like admit that you're toxic. Yes, you can admit that sometimes you are the toxic one. And sometimes you put band-aids over wounds because you are too afraid to heal. And so you use your ability to not heal as armor, to not fall in love and to not ask for kindness and not do the things that you need to do, because healing is actually a hard process. And so you are actually toxic. And because you are toxic, you don't listen well. And so because you're learning to do hard things, you will learn to listen. You will learn to listen to your body when it tells you to stop and when it tells you to go, and then you will learn to listen to your soul when it tells you that this time maybe you weren't the toxic one. And if you know anything about me, I am proactively trying to preach that sometimes you're not the toxic one. So this time it was them. They were the toxic ones. But because you're learning to do hard things, you will put your ego aside and then learn to listen to them, because they too deserve to be listened to. And so you will do the hard thing of learning to listen, because sometimes you're not the toxic one. You can learn to do hard things like leave. You can do hard things like? Sometimes you can leave the party. That group of friends that no longer serve you. That job you hate. you can leave that person. Gosh, you can really leave that person. Because sometimes what we want isn't what we need. And so we go back to past lovers and past situations because we need clarity on which is which. You can do hard things like long distance. You can do hard things like? Actually, I shouldn't have made you say that. That one is actually for me. I can do hard things like long distance. Like actually being committed. Like allowing myself to fall in love. And like not do that half and half, we should just be friends bullshit I be doing. Like actually committing. I will learn to sing to my Chris Jerichos and watch my walls fall, because love can sometimes feel like a smackdown, and I don't always have to be so stone cold Steve Austin cold, because love can feel raw when served to you. And those were just a few wrestling references for those of us that still believe that wrestling is real, but love is. And so I will allow myself to fall in love, to commit, to actually try doing long distance. I will learn to do hard things like wear my heart on my sleeve and my soul at the seam of my existence, even though sometimes it feels like I am not doing any of the above. I will learn to tell my little sister that I am proud of her. Even though we used to argue as kids, now that I'm older, I realize that children understand innocence better than adults. I will learn to do hard things, like be honest and vulnerable and tell the truth. I will learn that sometimes it's okay for good things to happen to me, so I will learn to be okay at doing the hard thing of accepting that sometimes life can be great and that I can have a good group of friends and that I can have a roof over my head and food and someone who loves me, even though I might not love them back. And it's okay, because we're learning to do hard things like accept that love isn't always mutual. And I will learn to do hard things like accept that sometimes I will disappoint my parents because they tried to provide for me, and we live in different cultures. You know, being in the middle of your parents' sacrifice and your future can be hard. I will learn to do hard things like telling the woman that I love her. Like telling my mother that sometimes I'm afraid that I don't make her proud. Like saying no when a girl wants to come over and wants to bring her brother. It doesn't make me a terrible human being, I'm just being practical. I will learn that it is okay to not know if you're okay. I will learn to do the hard thing of not procrastinating, but actually that's kind of hard, so I think we're going to try that tomorrow. And you, my friends, we are going to learn that we can do hard things like doing hard things. We can do hard things like? Because hard things don't always have to be physically draining. Sometimes they just take away at our souls. They are the tax on top of our hard profit, the wonderful earnings that we have made out of life, and so we will learn to do hard things. And so if you take anything away tonight, learn that you can do hard things. Thank you.